Today we're going to be talking about lunar magic and how you can work with certain herbs to evoke the healing and transformative virtues of the moon. Hello friends, I'm Bianca Kemp and I'm here to teach you magical herbalism. So this is a spiritual and nature-based practice where we craft with flowers, barks, herbs and resins so that we may create powerful natural magic all the year round while living sustainably and in sync with nature. The first lunar herb I want to show you is mystical mugwort. This herb is sacred to the goddess Artemis, also known as Diana in Roman Latin. So the botanical name of mugwort is Artemis vulgaris, as in common Artemis. Wormwood is another Artemis named herb, also sacred to the goddess. Both have this beautiful light green silvery foliage which shimmers under moonlight. Both have a camphor-like aroma, a bit like sage. Both are also very bitter to taste. Artemis is the goddess of childbirth, of the moon, of hunting and of the forest. Her myth originated in Arcadia, which is a region of ancient Greece, just like Pan, who is the satyr or fawn god of the wild. Her earliest incarnation was as Aletheia, who is the divine huntress who comes to the aid of women in childbirth. This tells us that since hunter and gatherer times, mugwort has always been associated with childbirth and is a divine or sacred herb of women. In medical herbalism, mugwort is considered a meningog herb, which causes the uterus to contract and can stimulate a bleed. Yarrow, wormwood, rue and angelica are also meningog herbs, so great care and caution should be taken when using these. If you are pregnant, trying to conceive or breastfeeding, you should stay away from meningog herbs, especially mugwort. Otherwise, for magical and spiritual purposes, mugwort has a great many benefits. It's a very relaxing herb. The aroma will clear and sharpen the mind, much like sage does, which makes it a great herb to have in bath blends, ritual bath blends. You can add mugwort to mystical or magical incense blends. I like to use mugwort with a blend of rose and some myrrh, which I would burn in my cauldron during magic rituals. You can add it to herb sachets like this. These are, they work like protective charms, so you will fill them with herbs and crystals or little trinkets in order to build a spell which aligns with your intentions. So you can make a little full moon or a new moon spell bag. The next herb I want to show you is silverweed or moongrass, which is a lovely medicinal anti-inflammatory herb which goes by the name of Potentilla ancillaria. So this potentilla means potent, which suggests its many medicinal qualities. It grows very profusely where I live, on the Cornish coast, along the downs. It grows as a weed. You'll recognise it by these little yellow flowers that bloom in the summer months. It's a member of the rose family. In the ancient world, the moon phases were very important to consider when collecting plants, especially medicinal herbs. Dioscorides tells us that silverweed was collected while the moon was waxing. It was then made into a decoction, a herbal decoction, which is like an extremely strong tea where it's boiled to extract all of its properties. It was used as a mouthwash to cure oral problems and also to cure other illnesses. So you too could also collect silverweed while the moon is waxing. You can make a flower essence with it. You can make a tincture. You can infuse it in oil, as I do here. So this is my Silver Path New Moon Anointing Oil, which is an infusion of silverweed and jasmine and mint. My next lunar herb is jasmine. Jasmine flowers are sensual and fragrant, very much connected with the divine feminine and with the moon. So jasmine is one of these flowering herbs that actually smell sweeter at nighttime, along with wisteria, rocket violets, honeysuckle, so it shares that lunar quality. Jasmine is a symbol of purity and has been used for thousands of years as an offering to the goddess in Hindu temples. It's an ancient Arabic perfume fragrance, which is also one of the key fragrances in Chanel No. 5 perfume. So when you're using jasmine, it's worth knowing that it pairs very well with rose for love and for self-love and self-pampering. It goes very nicely with mugwort for divination, and I also use it with mint and chamomile in lunar tea blends. Next we have meadowsweet. So meadowsweet is a delightful midsummer herb. It has a vanilla honeyed fragrance. It grows near water. In the summertime, you may see its blooms along the canal sides. It has this delightful, frothy white flowers which seem to hang from the plant like clouds. It famously was one of Queen Elizabeth I's favourite flowers. She used it as a strewing herb. Now, strewing herbs were aromatic and seasonal plants which in the medieval times were gathered and brought in and strewn across the floor in their houses and dwellings and castles and mixed in with hay to give a nice aromatic fragrance or aroma to the building. Meadowsweet is very good for the skin. It contains a high level of salicylic acid, which is a natural aspirin. Other damp-loving plants that you can use in your lunar rituals are water mint. So water mint grows very profusely in the summer months. You'll often find it at the bottom of fields near the damper areas. So it grows alongside clover and bird's foot trefoil. Pairs very well with mugwort and meadowsweet. Mugwort is another water-loving plant, so if you're looking for mugwort in the summer months, you'll often find it growing next to a stream or some kind of waterlogged area. I have here willow bark, which, like meadowsweet, is a water-loving plant that thrives near water. Both are a natural form of aspirin, as they both contain significant levels of this salicylic acid. So willow bark has a very interesting mythology to it. So if you delve into Celtic mythology or Druidic plant lore, you'll find it's connected to the otherworld or the underworld, and also to water spirits and to certain goddesses as well, such as the Morrigan, Morgan Le Fay, also Druidic totem animals, specifically the crane, the bull and the hawk. So it's it has a lot of magical potential to it. So it's a good herb to get to know and to use in your lunar rituals and spells. So other herbs that you can use in lunar rituals and magic is elderflower. So elderflower can be used to bring in and to sweeten situations. It's a lovely sweet herb, and also has that wonderful mythology to it of the elder mother. So that's a nice bit of plant lore that you can delve into there. So I also have sage. Sage, as we know, is very good for the mind. It's a lovely mystical herb which has lunar qualities. Yarrow. So yarrow is a midsummer herb, but when it's fresh, is very cool and calming. Mint is another wonderful herb that I frequently use, especially around the full moon, because it has a cooling and calming effect. Most of these herbs you'll find magically have calming, relaxing, pain relieving and sedative qualities to them, which make them perfect for ritual bathing, for dream work and for sleep. It's worth mentioning that no herb is de facto a lunar herb or a solar herb. The the herbs that you use should really correspond with the intention of your spell or your ritual. So it's perfectly acceptable to use marigold or rosemary in your lunar or nightly rituals, for instance. To this end, you may use vervain for manifesting, or skullcap for dream work, or you may use motherwort for emotional balancing, or even wild thyme, which is a very stimulating herb, for say fairy magic or fairy witchcraft under a full moon in the summer. A couple of other herbs that I should mention quickly are lilacs and also lavender. So these of course are delicate, sweet, fragrant, relaxing herbs which both have wonderful lunar qualities to them. The lunar month is divided into 8 phases. It begins with the new moon and it ends with the new moon. You can do magic rituals for any of the 8 phases. I generally only do moon rituals when I have something that I want to put out into the universe. So the new moon energy is really for renewal and resetting, and for goal setting. For me, the best way to manifest at the new moon is devotional. I will typically make an offering to the lunar goddess, but before I do that, I will cleanse in water. So I will take a ritual bath, because I think that moon rituals and moon magic should usually always involve some kind of water and cleansing. You can make yourself a salt bath, or you can use some of our lunar herbs and add them to a mixture of salt and essential oils and infuse that in your bath water. Once you've had your ritual bath, you can then light some candles at your altar, and you can make an offering to the moon deity, the goddess, maybe Artemis. Hecate is another lunar deity, and of course Selene, or Lunar in Latin. Another way to manifest at the full moon is to codify your spell or your intention in the form of a magic sigil. So I will put a description below in the comments area of this video explaining how to create a magic sigil, and I'll also direct you to another video that I've watched before which explains sigil magic. So what you would do is you would take a piece of paper and you write or draw your magic sigil, which is a sort of a distillation or a pictogram of what you want to manifest. You may create a little altar for yourself, for the moon goddess. Then you would place your sigil at your lunar altar. You may pin it down with some crystals like this. So crystals to use for moon magic, again, it's like herbs. It really depends on your spell intentions, but those I like to use to connect with the moon deity or to draw down the energies of the moon are generally quartz, clear quartz crystals. I love these geode, clear geode crystals as well, because they really amplify energy. Mint green quartz, blue quartz is another nice one, moonstone as well. So you can just decorate your altar with some lunar herbs, a few lunar crystals. You can have your sigil there, maybe scatter or sprinkle a few herbs over your sigil. If you're worried about it blowing away or wind, you can always get a glass or like a little glass dome or something and just place it over the top there to keep it in place. Now, again, you would just nurture this as you're manifesting from the new moon to the full moon. Now we've spoken about working with new moon energy. Let's take a look at how to work with full moon energy, which is different. I'll just show you now how to perform a releasing spell at the full moon. The full moon is big emotional energy, and it's healthy to dispel any pent-up stress or negativity that you may have been carrying with you. I find the most effective magical releasing method is with fire, so a burning ritual, and then releasing the ashes of your negativity or your dark thing into water that's flowing away from you. If the thing you need to release isn't easy, such as a bad habit, an unhappy relationship, a resentment or a grudge that's been making you feel unhappy, then the burn should be a slow one. It should be a slower release. This should be taken over the duration of the waning moon period. So that's from the full moon and to the new moon, and then you release on the new moon. To perform this releasing spell, you're going to need a few items. So you'll want a piece of paper that you can write down your negativity, your sorrow, your demon, and this should be committed to flame. So obviously you're going to need a writing utensil for that. You're going to need a candle. You're also going to need a jar with a lid. You're going to need a vessel that you can burn things in. So I would use one of these cauldrons because they're very good for starting little fires, which are nicely and safely contained for burning rituals. So you're going to be burning herbs and also your paper. Let's do one together. And I'll just demonstrate to you how I would perform this full moon releasing spell. So I would take my cauldron and prepare that with some charcoal. I would write down my resentment or my sorrow, and I would fold that away from myself. And this, by folding it away, this is a symbolic, magical act of casting the dark thing away from you. Right, so I've got my demon written down on my paper here. That's ready to be burned. So I would light a charcoal disc. And pop that into my cauldron, just let it to smoulder for a minute. For this burning ritual, you'll want to select some of the herbs that resonate with your intention or your situation. So in this case, I would like to release some sorrow. So I may add some white willow bark and to my cauldron. And I would say, with this offering, I commit my sorrow to the flame. I may like to add some mugwort in order that I can get some clarity or some guidance from the moon goddess on my situation. I would like her to illuminate the problem for me so that I may resolve it emotionally. So I will add some mugwort and say, great goddess of the moon, please offer me your guidance and wisdom. So now I'm ready to commit my petition paper, my demon, to the flame. So I will set light to this. I commit my sorrow to the flame. Please release me from this demon so I may thrive in the healing light of the moon goddess. So in it goes. Once my cauldron has stopped smouldering and the ashes have cooled down, what I'll do is begin to scoop the sinful, sorrowful ashes of my demon into the jar. Okay, so you can fill this jar with ashes as much as you like. A nice thing to do is also to add some herbs on top of this, again, which reinforce your intention or your message. So this may be some rose petals to release with love and compassion. You may put some rose quartz in there, for example. You may add, just for example, a little elderflower for sweetness, to sweeten the situation, or some mint to cool the situation. So really, whatever you find suitable and appropriate for your spell. So now, once you have the ashes of your demon into your demon releasing jar, as I call it, the slow release can begin over the period of the waning moon. The next thing you want to do is to apply the candle. The thing to do with the candle then is to anoint it with some oil. It's just it just adds to the magic, adds to the spell. And of course your oil will be one which corresponds with the moon goddess, or which resonates with you. You want to just melt the bottom of your candle ever so slightly, or even dip it in some wax. So then you fuse it onto the lid of your jar. You want to make sure this is quite secure onto the lid, so it doesn't fall off at any point and cause a fire hazard. So this probably isn't as safe as I would like it to be, but please make sure that yours is very well fused on. Okay, so then you can light your candle and let the candle magic start working. You may wish to just sit quietly and meditate on all that has come to pass, or if you have a specific meditation practice with breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth is a very spiritually releasing action. If you're like me and you're very verbal and vocal and you like chanting as part of your witchcraft practice, then this is a good thing to do at this stage. So I usually say, Goddess of the moon, guide me in this rite. Release all darkness, release all negativity, so I may thrive in your healing light. Now I will repeat this chant over and over again out loud to begin with as the candle begins to burn down. And then after a while, I will internalize this and I'll be saying it in my mind as a mantra. Once your candle has burned down, of course, we need to leave this on the altar from the full moon until the new moon. So if your demon is particularly stubborn and you're finding it difficult to really release that thing that you want to let go of, then you should come back to this during the waning moon phase. You can light another candle and you can repeat your mantra, you can repeat your meditation, and you can anoint your candle and go through the ritual again. When it comes to the new moon, you want to then take your jar down to a stream of water and face the water that as it's running, work with the water running away from you. Of course, your jar at this point will be sealed with dripped wax. So you break the jar and you empty the contents. So you're releasing the demon into the stream of water running away from you. If you're not near a stream of water or the ocean, you can release it into a running drain or into the sluice, which is less poetic but effective nonetheless. When it comes to releasing my demon, I will ritually say, the demon is dead, so I may live. With love and compassion, this offering I give, and then you are releasing it out into the universe. Now, as long as you don't put anything, any chemical or toxic substances into here, and you're just burning paper and the ashes of herbs and some charcoal, you don't have to worry about the environment, especially for such a small quantity. You're not going to have any impact on anything significant, but just do be mindful not to add anything into the waterways, streams or the oceans, which could potentially damage any of the wildlife there. This brings us to the end of our lunar magic and herbalism tutorial. So as ever, I haven't covered everything there is to know about working with lunar herbs and working with the moon. It is a vast, vast subject with many layers and much history to it. A very interesting branch is actually working with the what they call the poison path. So that's working with plants such as datura, nicotine and tobacco plants, with mushrooms, of course, which are a moon fruit because they bloom at night time and they shrink from the sun. That's a whole other interesting area of study that we can delve into at another time. If you found this tutorial beneficial, I would be delighted if you were to like, subscribe or share, or leave a comment below, which is always delightful. So thank you very much for joining me again, and blessed be.